G'day legends. Do you want to learn how to spray 2K clear in our hobby world and you want to do it correctly? Well, I'm about to show you how. Let's go.
Brought to you by spraygunner.com.
G'day legends, Mod from Mod Scale Models, and as I said in the intro, I'm going to go through in detail and show you from start to finish how to prepare 2K clear all the way through to polishing. How does that sound? Yeah, well, I thought you might be interested in that. So how am I going to do it? Well, we're going to break it down into categories. We're going to start with safety first, then equipment, then we'll fling into mixing, then we'll cover off on induction times. We'll talk about the environment. We'll talk about airbrush settings, all right? We'll talk about preparation, and then what we'll do, we'll get into technique, okay? And then we'll look at things to look out for, all right, while spraying. We'll talk about after spraying. We'll talk about cleaning up, and I'll throw in a few pro tips along the way. I know, it's a fair bit, right? But I thought we'll do it because I get asked all the time, and I thought, oh yeah, all right, okay, let's do it. It's a good topic, right? And I've always said, and I'll continue to say, that I think a lot of people are a bit scared to use 2K clear. And I always say, with the right gear, you don't need to be. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll get set up, and we might cover off on the safety first aspect. All right, so let's get into it. Safety, yeah, we need to talk about that, and we need to show the correct way for doing it at home, okay? Because there are some nasties there's some nasties in all paint, right? You should always wear a respirator when you're painting, particularly if you're indoors, okay? And your ventilation is a bit restricted. Absolutely, you got to. I don't wear mine enough. I probably should. All right. So what are you going to need to do the job and to do the job safe? Okay. Well, you're going to need a pair of safety glasses. Okay. If you don't wear prescription glasses while you're painting, you're going to need some safety glasses because the sprays, the heavy particles they can buzz around your face and they can get in your eyes, and yeah, you don't want that. So you need a pair of safety glasses, or in my case, I wear prescription glasses whilst painting, and it gives me they're a little bit magnified, so it gives me a little bit of an edge. So, but I do get a little bit of dry overspray on them from time to time, and I've got to clean them up. So there you go. Right, now the next thing you're going to need is a set of gloves. Okay, you've seen me wear these ones before. Actually, I've just got these ones got this box in, because remember I was running the blue ones for a while, and I reckon I look like a dentist. But you're gonna need a set of gloves, and look, they don't need to be anything special as long as they can keep the solvents out. You're laughing, all right. When you're spraying 2K clear, should you use two? Absolutely. I'm guilty of wearing one glove. You should wear two. Okay, we're going for best practice here, so do as I say, don't do as I do. All right, so you're gonna need some gloves, and you should wear them anyway. Right. Right now, the next thing you need to wear long sleeve shirts if possible. Okay, to keep the overspray off your arms. Yep, and you're going to need a mask, a paint mask. Yeah. Now, I run the Sunstrom. I've used this brand for, over 20 years I've used this brand. So, yeah, what can I say? It's a great product, and there's lots of manufacturers out there who make paint masks. You don't need to go with Sunstrom. It's just the brand that I've used since a young bloke, and it's really good. Obviously, in my automotive refinishing days, we had air-assisted masks with full visors on the front. So this is more probably set it up for your home use because it's just the mask itself. Okay, and we'll show you. I'll show you in a minute. So this particular kit is what we call the basic kit. All right, it comes with everything you need to do the job. All right, particularly spraying 2K. Okay. All right, so let's crack it open and have a look. So it comes with, you only get one of the little alcohol wipes, but we used to, in the trade, when I was in the trade, we had absolute bucket loads of these things, and we were cleaning the masks out all the time just to keep them hygienic. Okay, right now, what does the mask do? Well, basically, it is kind of obvious. It's there to stop the nasties getting into your lungs. Okay, and when I refer to nasties, particularly, let's talk about them for the elephant in the room. The 2K Clear has isocyanate chemical in it, and that's a nasty. Now, there's other chemicals in it as well. I'm not all over what they are anymore. I don't care to remember what they are anymore. All I know is that if you want to use this product, and this product is absolutely on point for our world of scale model building, right? It's on point, and you can't get a better finish. You just cannot get a better finish than a beautifully done 2K scale model. So what does it consist of? Right. Well, I'm glad you asked, because it's got, and I'll show you on the front, which is, all right, you've got your cover, right? Then you've got your SR221. Now, what that is that's what we call your first line of defense, all right? It's basically picks up the heavy particles, and it's, if you're doing a lot of spraying, like I'm spraying every day, right? And I've actually just changed my pre-filter. Okay, so it's basically a pre-filter. All right. It's absolutely no good on its own, but with all the other componentry in there, it's on point. Okay, so I won't go into too great detail because there are other manufacturers out there, but I'll give you an understanding of kind of what cartridges you need to make sure you're safe. Okay, so you need a pre-filter. Now, as I said, the pre-filter, that'll catch some of the heavy particles that are floating around before they start getting into the next category. All right, now the PR3 is a particle filter. Okay, so that's going to start catching all the crap that you're breathing in. All right, so it's gone from the pre-filter to the particle filter. All right, and then from there, it's still working its way into you. From there, you've got your A1, which is your organic vapor filter. All right, now this is the key. This is the one that's going to absolutely kill off, or it doesn't kill off, it's going to stop the nasties getting through to here. Okay, so by the time it gets to here, right, which is back here, and I'll take it off and show you, because, if you don't know, you don't know, right? All right, by the time it gets to here, right, you got fresh air. All right, and it's got a one-way valve, so you can suck air in, but you can't blow it back. Okay, all right, so it's really quite a simple. And look, over the years, the basic mask, it hasn't really evolved a great deal different from the very early ones we used to use. So there you go. So there's the actual filters. Okay, so that's all you need. That's all you need to do the job safely. Okay, in conjunction with the other items that I said. All right. So I hope I haven't sort of bugged down in too much detail. All right, but it is important that when you're spraying, that you spray with the right cartridges. Now, different manufacturers might have a different name and different color code, and they might do different cartridges that combine them in one. I'm not sure, right? I only use the one brand, like I said before, and that really involves two cartridges plus a pre-filter, filter. all right, which is these. All right, so that's done. To recap it all on the mask is you've got your pre-filter, all right, and which takes away all the heavy particles, all right, but it doesn't stop the vapor from getting in there, all right, or it doesn't stop the isocyanites getting through the other areas, okay? And then you've got your PR3, right, which is your particle filter, all right? And what that does, as we've said, that will start to catch some of the bigger particles, start to remove some of the odors, all right? And it'll start breaking down some of the chemicals and stop them from coming through. And then your last line of defense in the respirator is your A1, okay? Yep, that's the one that will remove all the nasties. And so by the time you get through, you're breathing fresh air, and there you go. So that's basically it. All right. So what I urge you guys to do, if you're really keen, just go and do your homework. Come back and watch this video again if you need to understand, what cartridges. Really have a read. I recommend that you go for like a basic pack, which it'll get you going. All right. Now, you're not going to be needing to replace these filters like on a weekly basis because you're not going to be spraying that much, so they're going to last a long time. All right. As far as how long they last, well, that's going to depend on how much you spray. And you get a booklet, which is quite comprehensive, and that will go through all the times, the cleaning, all the maintenance, everything, right? All the respirator manufacturers will have those setups in a nice clean environment, box keep it in, and everything will be labelled, so they all will do it. All right. Right, we got through that. I think that's about it. So what I'll do, I'll get cleaned up, and then we'll start on the next one. Right, let's talk about equipment. Now, as far as equipment, this is what I use. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the gospel and you need to swear by it. You might want your own added on equipment or take some stuff off. Okay, this is just what I use. Right, so equipment. Now we've covered off on the respirator, so that's obviously part of the equipment, but we've done that. So let's talk about airbrush. Yeah. If you're gonna do 2K clear, there's a very good chance you might need an airbrush. I hear it all the time out there, right? What's the best all-rounder for spraying 2K clear, right? Look, the best all-rounder is probably the 0.5. Okay, needle setup. That's probably your best all-rounder. Yeah. For me, when I'm doing larger bodies, like full-size bodies, like that one over there, right, I go into the 0.66. Okay, and I find that gives me great volume coming out, and I get the finish that I'm requiring. Okay. Now, there's various types of setups out there. You can do your suction fed, which comes from the bottom, or you can do your gravity fed, which comes from the top. I've heard all the arguments for 20 years on which one's the better. I think for ease, probably the gravity feed's probably better than the suction, and suction you always need a little bit more for obvious reasons. But I'm not going to go into why you should have a gravity over a suction. All right, this is just flying over what's the best setup. All right, so you're probably looking around 0.5. Now, where's a 0.5? Oh, I've got a 0.5. I've just got a 0.5 set up. For as in general purpose, the 0.5 will do what you want. And then probably the 4 mils 4 mils, you're starting to get it down a bit. But however, I've got a 0.3, 0.3, and this little guy is amazing. He really chucks out the paint. So it's just the guide, generally speaking, is 0.5 is an ideal all-rounder. Okay. Your 0.6s to 0.7s for your larger body work. Now that does include some fans as well, and I will show you a fan set up. Let's go in here and let's go in there and I'll show you. There's a fan, okay? So the fan will give you that wider pattern. So if you're doing quite large scale models, you can use the fan. I find I don't need to. I don't need to use the fan, but it's there if I want it, right? If I'm after a particular finish, I can then resort to the fan setups, all right? But all in all, I find the airbrushes as is with the little nozzle setups absolutely on point and will do the job, right? So that's the airbrushes. I know we're flying over it. Look, if you're new to this world and you're going to buy an airbrush, I'd look at trying to get one of the ones like in a combi pack, a combination pack where it comes with a, let me show you. Say the Aventus, okay? This comes out in the 0.2 and the 0.4. So, you know, a combination of both. The Talon comes out in, it comes out in the 0.66, and I think it comes out in the 0.3, but I'll put it there. I just can't for the life of me remember what it is, so I'll put it right there. That you can get that in a combi as well. So therefore you're getting 2 airbrushes in one, right? Saves you buying 2. Okay, hope that makes sense. So we've covered off on them. Right, we ripped through that. If you have any questions, just reach out to me and I'll be able to answer them. So because look, gun setups are a personal thing. They also reflect the style of painter you are as to the setup you have. I prefer, as I said before, I prefer the larger needle setups only because of my automotive background. So I'm used to having a bit more volume. So I adjust things accordingly to get the result I'm looking for. No different from if you guys are using the smaller setups, you can still get the same result. Okay, hope that kind of makes sense. Right, the next bit of equipment you're going to need, well, you're going to need an air compressor. Yeah, you're going to need an air compressor to be able to push this stuff out. All right, so let's talk about the air compressor. All rightio. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritties a little bit. So air compressor, let's talk about, look, I will fly over types of air compressors because it's up to you to pick out what works for you. You can have a non-tanked air compressor, you can have a tanked air compressor. Oh, there's a heap of different types out there. Okay, I've got a video out on them, so go and have a look at that. But this is my recommendation of PSI for each needle setup. All right, this is approximate. Okay, right now if you're running the 0.5, as I recommend, is probably your all-round setup. You're looking at around between 18 and 22 PSI to spray. Okay, now that's at the trigger. Now what I mean by that is when you pull the trigger in, you're getting a true 18 or in between up to 22 PSI. All right, not air in and then pull the trigger and she drops below those recommended PSI. Does that make sense? So I'm talking PSI at the trigger pull. Okay. Hope that makes sense. Right, so let's just recap just again. 0.5 millimeter, right, for just an all-round setup for 2K clear, right, 18 to 22 PSI. I'd start at around 20 PSI and fine-tune it as required. Yep, all right. Now, the 0.6 to 0.7s, I'd go 18 to 20 PSI. Yeah. 18 to 20 PSI. Now, the reason larger nozzles atomize 2K more easily. Okay. All right. Now, the 4mm, I'd rate around 20 to 25 PSI, depending on reduction. Okay. That will see you about right. All right. So just a couple of points to take away from that. Key points is set pressure with the trigger pull. All right. Always, as I said, pull the trigger in and then adjust your regulator. Right. You need to adjust to suit the product temperature and humidity. Okay. All right. So hope that makes sense. So just, what PSI you run in the summer might be slightly different to what you're running in the winter. Okay. Every brand of 2K Clear sprays a little different. They've got what I call their own signature. So you will need to dial it in, right? I use and prefer the Diamond Clear from the Model Paint Company, and that is very different to other clears that I use. I dial it in a little bit different, and it gives me amazing results. But it's very different to one of the other brands I use. Yeah, which is understandable, right? So just fine tuning it, and while we're on that subject of just fine tuning your airbrushes, always make up a little tiny bit just to do a couple of spray outs on some spoons and bits and pieces until you work out exactly. You will work out what works for you. All right. So how do I summarize the whole thing? Start at around 20 PSI with a 0.5mm airbrush setup if you can, and let the paint tell you what it wants. Yeah? Just let it tell you what it wants. All right, so we've covered off on airbrush. Now, as far as we've covered off on compressor as far as the PSIs, right? Obviously, you want a compressor with a regulator, a moisture trap, a drain point so you can drain the moisture out. You might even require one of these that go onto the end of your airbrush. It's like a last line of defense moisture trap. If you need it, I don't need it on my pro setup, but on the cheaper ones, you might need to run one of these. Okay. So that's that. All right. I think we've pretty much covered off on compressor. So I'll get set up and we'll talk about something else. Well, we got through that one. Now, the next little bit of equipment you're going to need is mixing equipment, and that's pretty simple, right? So we'll just quickly go through them. This is what I use, right? You can grab yourself some little mixing cups. These are disposable, so don't worry about cleaning them up. Okay, I mean, if you want to use reusable, then you'd probably need to go to a stainless steel pots. Okay, so these have got all your measurements on there. I've also got two types. I've got a small one, which is 30mm, and a large one, which is 60mm. Just depends on what I'm doing, right? Most of the time, I am just using that. If you can't do your whole 2K job under 30mm, then yeah, something's not right. Okay, so you should not need more than that. But sometimes, you might have 3 car bodies and you want to do it all in one foul swoop, then you need to go to the bigger mixing pot. All right. Now, these are available online. Just ring up the internet and you'll find them. So you're going to need a couple of them. All right. You're going to need some pipettes. Okay. Now, the reason why you need pipettes because you need to extract the let's bring over. You're going to need to extract the 2K out of the bottles to put into your mixing cup. All right. Now, a little tip that I do when I'm mixing up my ratios is I grab a pen, my little Sharpie, and I mark how much part A, part B, and reducer. So then I just take the guesswork away and in I go. Yeah? All right. I also, a lot of the times will mark these as well, particularly with hardener and part A. So part B, part A, just so I don't mix them up. Okay? Right? So that's what I do. Now, the reason why I use pipettes, it keeps all the threads nice and clean on the bottles and you don't have any problems because, yeah. Another quick little tip, and I'll probably mention this later in the video as well, I'm not sure, but when you're mixing and you're taking the lids off, make sure you separate the lids so you know exactly what lid goes on what, because you don't want to put the hardener lid on the Diamond Clear for obvious reasons. Okay, so there's a little something there for you. Right, so we've got pipettes. You're going to need a stirring stick, or look, you can just use the icy pole sticks, the wooden sticks. I've got a little metal one, and I just yeah, that's what I use. We spoke about the pen. I got the pen. Look, digital scales. Can you weigh? Yeah, you certainly can. In the world I come from, we weighed everything, but in this world. Old school, baby. I just measure it out. Just measure it out. So you can use digital scales as instead of doing it this method. Absolutely, you just got to work out your ratio, your weights, and away you go. Right. That's it for mixing equipment. Now we could probably add things like paint strainers, maybe. Look, with the paint manufacturers that I use, excuse me, they strain their stuff out. Okay, so I don't have to. All right. I know both the companies that I deal with in Australia, they both strain their paints. So I've never really had to worry about it. Yeah. So, but, around the world and other manufacturers, you don't know what you don't know, as I always say, and you might need a strainer. So, yeah, you can use paint strainers. There's a few available out there to do the job. Right. Next, I think we're pretty much done with mixing equipment. I don't think there's anything else that I have in my arsenal. No, because we'll talk about mixing paints later on when we get up to the stage of actually making some paint up, and I'll throw in a few pointers in there as well. So I think we've pretty much covered off on the equipment required to make up a bit of 2K clear. Rightio. Welcome to my booth. A lot of you guys who follow me know this is mine. It's I can't remember the brand. I don't recall, but what I'll do, I'll have a bit of a think between now and then, and hopefully it will come out. Size-wise, it's, as you can see, it's a reasonable size. I don't have all the specs on it because I've had it for ages, right? And this is a critical part of 2K spraying, I think, because what it does, it comes under the safety brief as well as the equipment brief. Because what a spray booth is designed to do, it's designed to extract the fumes and to get them away from painting the job and to get them away from the person painting the job. Yeah, in a nutshell. So it's an extraction booth. Now mine's just a hobby. It's just a hobby brand booth, and I absolutely love it. I keep it clean. I think it's critical that you keep it clean, and because of the amount of this booth gets a lot of use. So I'm constantly cleaning it and I just put down A4 paper and it keeps it nice and clean. I keep my filters clean and I just run a chuck wipe over the front of it, and that extends the life of my filters. All right. Now, these little chucky whites, they block up quick. So you got to keep turning them over. But cost effective in the current world that we're living in, where the costs of living are getting higher, the chucks are cheaper to buy in a big roll than to buy the filters. Does that make sense? You're still going to need to replace your filters. You can just extend the life of your filters by using a chuck. Now, one of my followers put me onto that ages ago, and I thought, geez, you're on drugs. I'm never going to do that. And I was buying filters in the, large packets. And he's absolutely correct. It works. You just got to make sure you change them regularly because they block up super quick. And then once the filter's blocked, the extraction part of what a spray booth does becomes less efficient. Okay, so therefore you're deceiving the purpose of having it in the first place. So obviously I always will recommend a hobby booth, spray booth, to the hobbyists out there to do all your painting in. Or your acrylics, or your 2K, or your enamels. If you're spraying, you should be using a booth, all right? And my booth has a pipe on it, which it goes outside. Okay, so I'm getting rid of a good majority of fume. Okay, so in conjunction, let's just talk about 2K here, 2K clear. In conjunction with the respirator, clean filters, you're extracting a lot of that chemical and a lot of that solvent and fume straight out. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Right. So what are some of the equipment that I use within the booth? Apart from stands, right? You're obviously going to need stands to put your body on and that sort of stuff. Okay. One of the best pieces of equipment I can recommend is the anti-static brush. All right. Get that on. Right, and that is in conjunction with a clean booth, clean filters, good extraction. All right. The anti-static brush. Oh, what a great bit of kit. Now, the brand is Tamiya, and I'm not sure what they're worth, but you can get them on ring up the internet. You can get them on eBay and on Amazon, and made by Tamiya. Yeah, fantastic. And they will definitely help to minimize the crap going in your paintwork. All right. Another thing about paint booths is you want good lighting, right? Now I have an external light that I also bring around, and I'm about to show you. See, and that gives me just extra. I'll turn it off. That just gives me extra lighting in here for doing that really fine detail work. Okay, so that's another thing I use. Got my little turntable, which is just my base. All right. There's not a great deal more we can talk about the booths. There's plenty of spray booths on the market. If you are in the market for a booth, check out spraygunner.com. I'll leave a link in the description, which will take you straight to their spray booths. Check them out. If you don't have one, do yourself a favor and save your pennies and get yourself one. It will allow you to do a lot more. If you're painting outside currently because you don't have one, it'll allow you to come inside. It'll allow you to sit in your office. I'm in an office which is not far from our kitchen, and I'm always a bit worried about paint fumes, so I always say to the wife, "Hey, can you smell it?" And she goes, "No." So that's really good. The only smell I get in here will be after I turn the booth off, and I've got the car body sitting in the booth. the fumes coming off that car body are enough to get a bit smelly in here. So what I tend to do is I've got a multi-speed spray booth. I tend to turn it down low, and it's just extracting that little, as the car body's drying, it's extracting the vapors and the fumes and that sort of stuff. All right, so I think we're pretty much covered off on, there is another little bit of equipment that I use, and that's a water bottle. Yep, so when I'm doing my top end clear jobs, I will run around and I will spray everything with water, right? And that leads me to another little thing that I do, and I'll talk about that in a second. So what the water does is, whilst the booth's running, all right, and I'll talk about that now. Prior to painting, I run the booth for about 5 minutes. That allows it to shake and rattle, and then it gets into a rhythm. Whatever dust particles are sitting up here and around the place tend to settle. And then I come along with the water and I spray pretty much straight that way and up that way down the walls and on the floor section. All right, that captures all the little dusty particles that can literally, when PSI hits them, a bit of pressure, air pressure, can float them up, and then they start to come down again, and that's when they land in your paint. Okay, so by eliminating those little dusty particles with just some spray water, can take your models from here to here. Okay, so there's another little tip. So that's about the, I don't think there's anything else that I really have. All your filters are available online. You can buy filters. I'm not sure about rest of the parts. I really don't know if you can get other parts for these booths. I don't know. They're pretty robust. Mine's been going for years, and seriously, it runs for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours a day. I wouldn't mind a bigger one, and I keep waiting for this to break down so I can then justify buying a bigger one. But it just keeps going. So there you go. So as far as maintenance, yeah, they're pretty easy to keep clean. Once a week, I pull down all the paper. I vacuum out the filters, which are behind here, and then I put a new chucky over the top and I tape it all up. And look, the tape's not expensive. I buy it in bulk, and one tape roll goes a long way. So it's not overly expensive to keep a nice clean booth, and it looks good. And particularly for me doing this for a living, where I'm showing people and I'm representing companies like Spray Gunner, you got to have a clean booth. You can't have a crappy booth, can you? So I think we are pretty much covered on the old booth for 2K sprays. All right, the next segment we will cover off is the environment. Right, now you're probably thinking, what does he mean? Well, let's start with what's the ideal temperature to spray at. Okay, and this is in the so-called perfect world, all right, where you have a controlled environment. So the best temperature range would be between 20 and 25 degrees is the range. For me, up here in sunny Queensland, Australia, it does get warm in the summer, so I tend to run the air conditioning at exactly 22 degrees. That is the ultimate temperature, okay? And I find that's what I try and run at. In the cooler months, if it gets too cool, I will put the heater on and I'll bring it up to about sort of, around 20 degrees, and that will fluctuate. Yeah, so it'll be within that range. Okay, that's the ideal world. Look, if you're painting outside, well, you got to just paint with what you got, and all your techniques will alter accordingly, even including with a bit of wind, right? You've got to do you when you come to spray 2K clear. I keep sort of stressing that. You'll know. The paint will tell you, like I keep saying, the paint will tell you how it wants to be painted. All right. If you're not in a controlled environment, even in a controlled environment, it still goes a certain way. All right. Humidity below 70%, ideally. Okay. Ideally. Now, we touched on winter a bit before. I know some of you guys live in some real cold parts of the world, and because you tell me all the time. And I don't know how you live in it. If it gets below 20 here, we got jumpers and beanies on. We're freezing. But yeah, so what's a good little tip for you guys, in parts of the world where the temperature gets really low? What you can do is you can heat up your clear. Yeah, you can heat it up, right? And how do you do it? Just boil some water, right? Some clean, warm water, right? In around 30 to 35 degrees, and drop it in there for a few minutes. So you just want to warm it up gradually, not cook it, warm it up, and then you get into your mixture and then apply a paint. Great little tip. It does work. It's very good. I don't do it here because we don't get cold enough here in sunny Queensland, even though I say it's cold. So there's some little tricks. Now, keep it in mind, if you're, I wouldn't use that technique. If you're in a cold part of the world and you've got a heater on and the room's warm and the paint's obviously room temperature, you probably don't need to warm it up. But if you're working out in a cold workshop, in a shed, in a basement that doesn't have any heater and your bottles are down there and they're cold, yep, bit of warm water, sit it in there, you clear that is, sit it in there, tickety-boo. All right? So that concludes the environment. Right, so why don't we, we're up to mixing. So why don't we make up some 2K clear to head to that nice clean booth and to get it on. So what are we doing? Well, first part, as I said earlier, we're gonna grab the diamond clear. Now, I often hear people say, should you stir up 2K clear? Absolutely. I've had this on the agitator today, so it's pretty good. But we always in the automotive world have got our 2K clear sitting on the agitator, right? It's just turning over, just to help mix it up. It's a paint. So remember what I said, keep your lids separate. Okay, now I took the liberty of just marking this. All right, so we're going to make a total of, before we do that, whenever you order a kit or order some 2K clear, your manufacturer, your paint should give you a little data sheet, okay? It's important that you read these and fully understand. Do you remember what I said about different 2K clears have different sort of, they've got different ratios, mixing ratios, different drying times, and they all vary, right? So you just need to have a bit of a read. So with the Diamond Clear, it's a 4-to-1 plus 5% reducer. Okay? All right? And it says once you mix part A with part B, together a chemical reaction will start and will become unusable within 30 to 40 minutes. Now, for me, I'm always finishing up around the 30-minute mark, and I do not have a problem, right? But I'm in a climate-controlled environment. So, use those times within 30, 40 minutes, and you'll be okay. Always make up small batches, enough to do the job, because you can always make a bit more later if you need to do more. Okay, right. So I'm making up a total of 16 mil part A, 4 mil part B, and which will make a total of 20 mil with a 1 mil 5%. Okay, so there you go. So let's get it on now. Let's get it on. This is always exciting this time of the day, or whenever I'm doing this particular part of the job, because that means all the hard work has all been done, and now the good part's happening. So we'll get that out of there. So I hope everyone's enjoying this. I'm trying to be detailed, but not overly ridiculously detailed. And I'm trying to stick to the facts, so we're not going on for 6 weeks talking about the one topic. So if you like this sort of stuff, like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate it. Subscribing doesn't cost you a cent and it helps me out immensely. So that's the part A. So what I do is, see how I put it over there? I get him right out of my way because we've now got this part. This is all the nasties are in this part, and this helps the chemical reaction to make the clear go hard without bogging you down in too much detail. So what did we say we need? We need 4 mil, and these are marked out at 2. And I've got my little mark there anyway. And we need just another little bit. And then we're done. All right, so then I put that over there. You getting the drift? You picking up what I'm putting down? I always say, I'm always having a go at paint manufacturers. Have different colour lids, particularly for your hardener. Have a different colour lid so we know. I mean, geez, come on. And we want, what did we say? 1 mil. And we want about 1 mil. So let me do that again because I've just butchered that. Okay, that's a little bit more than 1 mil, but I'm okay with that. And that goes over there. And then what I do, I give her a bit of a stir. So the manufacturer suggests 30-40 minutes. Now that is plenty of time. You only need a couple of minutes to flash off between coats. All right. And what I'm about to talk about now is induction time. Now, what is induction time? That's when the two parts come together and create a chemical reaction. So all your nasties are in the hardener, including isocyanide. All right, or isocyanates. When the two get together, they need time to marry. So that's what we call induction times. Now, not all paint manufacturers require you to do an induction time. So you need to read your data sheet. I always give a little induction time just to allow the bubbles to settle and that sort of stuff. It's just a practice that I've done for a very long time. All right. So we've got that stirred up. It doesn't take long to get the reaction going, and that's ready to go. So I'll leave that for a few minutes just to induct, and then I will get the ball rolling, right? And just always remember, do not exceed the pot life after induction. Okay, so if you need to keep an eye on your paint times and your induction time, because it all goes under the umbrella. Hope that makes sense. All right, well, I will go to the booth and I will get ready to do the next segment. We're up to the exciting part of the build or the tutorial. We're going to put some 2K clear on this Porsche 911 GT2. So what are we going to do? Well, first of all, I'm going to pick the airbrush that I'm going to use for the exercise, and I'm going to use the Paasche. Is my 2K go-to airbrush on the 0.66, and I'll run at about 18-ish PSI. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do the job. The equipment we're going to use, all right? The airbrush we're going to use. And I'll apply 3 coats. 1 light, and then 1 medium, and then 1 full wet. Okay? And that's it. That's all we need. So that's about it, really. So I'll get in the booth. Now, I won't be talking too much because I'll be wearing all my PPE. So you'll notice that I get the model down on the angle, right? So let's just, for the exercise, right? I spray about here, and look, anywhere between 75, 100 mil, or in the inches, 3 to 4 inches, right? You'll know the happy spot to get, and I always get that on the angle, right? So I'm always constantly seeing the gloss level, and I'm also seeing the coverage and the crossover. Right, the overlap, you want around sort of 50 to 70% overlap. Okay, so what that means is your first pass, you come along, the second pass is overlapping, third pass overlapping. Okay, hope that makes sense without getting too technical on you. So generally speaking, keep a steady speed and a smooth trigger control, right? And pull your trigger before you come onto the body, right? I always start at the roof and pull down, all right? But before I do that, I always do my edges first, all right? So I always go around and I do my edges first, and then I come from the top and I pull down, okay? So I'm actually starting, the trigger's pulled before I get to the panel, okay? So then down, 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 okay? And just take your time. Now, what to watch for? Watch for dry spray, watch for orange peel, runs and sags, right? If you've got solvent pop, you're putting it on too fast, too thick, too quick, okay? Other things to watch out for is fish eyes, uneven gloss, right? And if all that's starting and you don't know how to get rid of it correctly, then just stop the job, okay? What I would do, I would then give the whole thing a coat. If you've got a wet coat on and you've got any one of those problems going on, I would just stop. If you've got like a fisheye contaminant, which is like a little crater, I'd go back over it with a little dry spray and try and fill it, and then stop and then rub it all back and then go again. Okay? Without getting too technical, all right, we can talk about that another time about how to remove orange peel, dry spray, runs and sags, rubbing dust out and solvent pop and fish eyes and all that stuff that's in our world to make our job just a little bit harder. And keep in mind, you can get all that on acrylic lacquers as well, not just 2Ks, right? So there you go. So, all right, enough talk from me. I will, as you can hear in the background, I've got the booth running. I've had it running for a little bit, so all the dust will settle down. I'll go through the process that I said to you earlier on how I get the booth ready, and then I'll meet you in the spray booth. Bring your PPE, and we'll get it on. Right, we are good to go. We've got our induction time happened on the 2K mix, and now we'll pipe it up, or suck it up, whatever we want to do, into our airbrush. Right, feather duster. I didn't worry about water this time. It's a brand new booth setup, so I don't need to worry about putting down some water. I don't believe I need to at this stage. Famous last words, right? All right, I'll get into it. Okay, so there's the first light coat. All right, not too heavy, not too dark, not too heavy, not too light, just a light medium. All right, looking really, really nice. I'll let that flash off for about 5 minutes, and then I'll go again. All right, there's coat number 2. And then we've got one more to go, then we're done. All right, as you can see, it's done. A couple of tiny little bits of dust in it, but that's nothing we can't polish out. And I'll show you how we do that as well. But look at that. All right, we'll let that dry. I'll get cleaned up. We'll let it dry. Then I'll meet you back at the bench, and we'll just do some final thoughts about it. Okay. Well, it's the next day. So obviously yesterday I cleaned up everything and got it all looking good. And so I'll just touch on cleaning. Airbrushes they're not difficult. 2K is very easy to clean. Okay, just a good quality acrylic thinner or an airbrush cleaner, your homemade ones like mine, they all work. So don't think, oh, it's 2K clear, it's not going to clean up. They do clean up, and it's not a problem. So what have I got on display here? Well, I've got the underbody of the vehicle, which I backed off a little bit. I turned in my fluid and backed it off a bit. So, because I thought I just want to try and match it up underneath and make it a little orange peely, a little less gorgeous looking. And I think I've got it. So I've got a heap of parts to go on it, and they're all like in flat titanium and that sort of stuff. So this is going to come together really nicely. But overall, there's the finish. I'll bring down Halo, and as you can see, it's look, 2K clear. Give it a go. It's not difficult. It's like anything. It's a learned behavior, and once you learn some of the basics, and I hope I've given you guys some of the basics today. It's very difficult to teach someone to paint from the television, right? So if I can give you a couple of pointers along the way, I hope that's helped to give it a bit of a crack. So what are the takeaways? Look, think about your safety. Think about a well-ventilated spot for doing the 2K clear. Stick with a reputable hobby brand. I just feel they're probably a little more friendly. They're just a little bit more friendly for the novice hobby operator, as opposed to some of the automotive sort of 2K clears out there. I'd stick with the hobby brands, and give it a go. Follow the instructions. Look at the safety data sheets that come either with the paint or on the paint manufacturer's website. Okay, do those few little things and you won't have too many problems at all. It's very, very user friendly. What else have we got? And put your own flair on it. Practice. It doesn't matter if you put on 3 coats and it's not quite the finish you want. You can rub it back and polish it. Now, I will do a separate video how to polish 2K clear, because this one's getting a bit long-winded now and I'll get hate mail. So I will probably finish it here. So if you do have a crack of it and it's not quite the finish you want, rub it back, and you can do a flow coat or you can do a polish, and you'll get the result, right? And the benefits for the 2K clear is it's a lot tougher. It's easier to handle. It's just once it's fully dry. Now, while we're on the subject of dry times, 30 days is the pinnacle. Okay, allow 30 days for it to properly, thoroughly dry out, and then you won't have one single problem, right? You can always, the manufacturers will tell you can polish the next day, and yeah, you can, but gases are still going to be escaping over the next 30 odd days. All right. My top end stuff, I tend to leave it. All right. I leave it about 3 weeks to 4 weeks. Every bit of it, and then I do things like this one here has got a couple little bits of dust in it, and I don't know if that's a little tiny fingerprint or I don't know what's going on there. There's a little tiny print in there. I think I might have touched it before it dried. I don't know. But that'll rub out and polish. So I'll probably leave this for quite a few weeks, and I'll get the body all the bits and pieces built up, and yeah. And then I'll put the black on around the frames and that. You guys will see it when I put it on socials. So that's about it. So a couple of thank yous. I want to thank my sponsors for allowing me to do this. And the first one is the Model Paint Company. They've been absolutely fantastic. And the colour, if you don't know, I'll tell again, it is the Paasche Ruby Stone Red. So some would call it a pink, some would call it a magenta. So I'll leave that to you guys to decide. And the clear is the diamond clear, the 2K diamond clear, which is look, it's the duck scut. So I love it. It's fantastic. So there you go. And I have a discount code for the Model Paint Company, and I'll put it right there for you guys. So if you want to replicate this model, you can buy yourself some of that paint and get yourself some clear and give it a go. And the other sponsor is spraygunner.com. They're new on board, and want to thank them for coming on board. And I'll leave an affiliation code I have down there, so you can go over to their website and check out all their stuff. They're one of the biggest airbrush retailers in the world. So if you'll get a good bargain from them from stuff. Okay, so big thank you to those two for being on board. Now I will write all the discount codes. They will be, and the links will be in the description below, so you don't need to worry too much about that one. And a thank you to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a bit long-winded. I tried to find the happy medium of not bogging down too much in the detail and not flying over too much. So I hope I found that for you guys. And so thank you guys. Now, always, as normal with me, if you're not sure about something, just reach out to me on the socials, or, reach out to me here. on the YouTube-tubies, and I'm really happy to help you guys out. So I'm happy if you're happy reaching out to me for some advice and that stuff, because, you know, us old timers in the scale model world, we've got to pass on our knowledge, right? We've got to keep passing it down and passing it across. Hey, I got an 80-year-old who follows me, so I'm passing it up. So that's what it's all about, isn't it, at the end of the day? So like, comment, subscribe. Please smash that subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. And when you do leave a comment, as per normal, let me know where you're from. I love it. I love to know where you guys are from. And I will catch you on the next how-to. See ya.